The CJ Knows Show. Today we look at a potential generational change that could be more sweeping than the introduction of the iPhone. Those who can remember 30 years ago to the early cell phones and the dial-up internet know how an innovation can accelerate change faster than we can imagine. If you're under 20, it just feels like it's always been this way. Is the rollout of artificial intelligence destined to be equally life-changing? In a few minutes, one of our favorite guests and visionaries, Terry Brock, will join us to preview one of the potential tools of change, Perplexity.ai. Perplexity hopes to relegate Google to the dustbins of the internet right next to AOL and Netscape. But first, let's watch a quick history of how we got here. Henry.
AI search company Perplexity has begun fundraising talks in which it could more now than double its valuation to $8 billion. That's according to the Wall Street Journal. It says that Perplexity has now told investors it's looking to raise about $500 million in the new funding round. Perplexity has conducted 3 funding rounds in the past year. Its valuation has grown from $520 million in January to $3 billion by the summer.
Perplexity.ai CEO Aravind Srinivas joins us now. His company ramping up its efforts now to take on Google and others in search and advertising.
It's all about what the consumers are doing, right? Consumers earlier used to go to search engines or social platforms, and that's where advertisements were served to them. Now consumers are increasingly shifting to more AI native apps. So there's a new consumer behavior of asking questions and getting answers. Not just typing in keywords into a search engine and like getting referred to another link. So that consumer behavior is growing while the existing consumer behavior of like just typing in a few keywords has sort of saturated. So whenever you have a new consumer behavior that's on the increasing trend, it's always lucrative for advertisers to figure out how to like be part of that and try to figure out a way to get users' attention in a very different way than what was possible before. And every single query on Perplexity on average has 10 to 11 words. Every query on Google has like 2 to 3 words. So you have way higher intent for every query, and the user is like able to ask much more targeted questions, which makes it even more easy for the advertiser to get the right user for their product.
Terry Brock is frequently asked to speak about AI and other cutting-edge technologies. He helps his clients and audiences to see exactly what can be done from the big picture, right down to the step-by-step execution level. He's a speaker, Hall of Fame member who brings a passion for technology, particularly AI for business, a sense of history and real-world business strategies. You can learn more for yourself by going to terrybrock.com or his YouTube channel at Terry L. Brock, CPAE, at Stark Raving Entrepreneurs. You can find the links below in the video description. Terry, the last time you were here, you brought up searching with Perplexity. Well, when Terry Brock speaks, we listen, and since then it seems like all the media is talking about Perplexity. They're raising billions of investment dollars. They're David taking on the Goliath of Google. Please help us sort out through this. And when did you discover Perplexity, and is it really something special? What do you think, Terry?
I think it is something special. It's got a lot of tools there that we can use in the practical real world. I got into it, maybe a couple of years ago when it first came out and have been playing with it. I used their free version for a long time. Now I'm using the paid version, and they both have some distinct advantages. And I particularly like it because I use it in conjunction with ChatGPT. ChatGPT gives you a good overview of what's going on, but I like to have Perplexity also. I learned in journalism, very important to have 3 non-corroborating sources when you're looking for something. One
Right.
person might say something, you go, okay, that's good. Another person says the same thing, hey, that's good too. The third person saying it, then you think, okay, this has got a lot more reliable trust. Doesn't mean it's accurate, but it does mean it's better. So I like to use those 2 together. And then with Perplexity in the paid version, I can tap into other those large language models so that I get even more information. That's giving me a little bit more of a confirmation that what we're finding is not a hallucination.
So what do you use these for? I mean, do you have an example? How do you use Perplexity and this search engines is, I guess, the best way for me to describe them. I'm not a tech guy, but explain to me how that works.
Oh, sure, I'd be glad to. Matter of fact, was it all right if I share my screen?
Oh, absolutely. You're the man.
Yeah, okay, well, let me show you right here. I'm in Perplexity right now. So this is what you see, and it's nice. You type in your answer, and much like ChatGPT, I can just type in an answer, a question here. But here's where the magic comes. Notice
Okay.
down here, CJ, it says the word focus. It says set a focus for your sources. Well, let's just see what that's about. I'm going to click on this here, and look at this. Here it's got web. So it's searching the entire internet. That's good. It's nice. However, in special cases, you might need something else. Over here, next door to that is academic, which means it's searching published academic papers, peer reviewed, scientifically analyzed. We're looking at the double blind testing, those kind of nice things that are in academia, so that I can find out what's going on. What it does is think of it like they're putting on blinders. And
Right.
it doesn't really care what the temperature is in a city now or the current news or that. That's fine. This is published academic papers. So we get some real good reliability there. Hey, we see from these 4 studies from these accredited universities, we see what they're saying. That makes a lot of sense. Over here, next door to that is math. So when you need to do some crunching for engineers, for the scientists, for financial analysis, real good for that. But here's one that I use a lot. Anyone that's writing might want to focus here on the writing. It helps you to generate the text. And what it's doing there is it's checking for your spelling, checking for grammar. I use it regularly. Every week, I have 3 programs I send out, 3 posts that I mail out, and I talk about what's going on. When I do it in Google Docs, for the funniest reason, I don't know why, CJ,
Right.
when I use Google Docs, which I love with their voice typing, go into a new paragraph. It starts at 2 spaces in and starts the first word with a lowercase letter, which I
Mm.
normally do not want.
Right.
But what I do is with Perplexity, I put in a prompt that said to correct for that. And so it moves it over and takes care of it. Now, could I do that? Sure. However, when I've got a long, maybe 1,000-word document that I feed in there, I can get Perplexity to process all of that, checking on grammar, spelling, making sure things are put in the right place in about 10 to 15 seconds. So it's
Henry,
much
go
faster than
ahead.
you.
Hi, Terry. It's Henry here. I'm
Yeah, Henry.
looking at the user interface that you were explaining to us. And in the video that we just showed before you came on, the CEO of Perplexity was talking about the need for a search that spanned the fragmentation of internal and external sources. So, if this were you, couldn't you customize this? For example, could you take uh, and create an icon or a shortcut there that would combine, say, all the Terry Brock videos that are on YouTube and search through that and give you, say, you had an external question of some technical issue, and could you then take that, combine it with your YouTube videos, and get a whole list of places you could take clips from?
Absolutely. I would probably do a combination here with this and some of the other real nice focuses that are capable, but I would use this one over here on the left. Right underneath the word discover, you'll see spaces. This is one that came out just a couple of days ago, and it gives you within Perplexity the ability to grab your internal documents up to 50. Say you got PDFs with your different writings that you put in there. You can feed that in there, or you could also use external links. Here's a link to a YouTube video that says something nice. Here's a PDF. Here's something that I had, an ebook that's a PDF. Again, up to 50. This is amazing because it goes in there and it would grab the ideas that you have, put them together, and then come up with ideas of combining those, what that you're saying, how to make it work, what not to do, etc. And
Boy,
it
it
gives you
sounds
a
scary.
beautiful
It
way of
sounds
doing it.
scary. It sounds easy, but it sounds scary. I don't know. Maybe
CJ,
I'm just an old guy.
for the legal profession, and not necessarily your specialty, but what can you think of that you would like to be able to pull from external and internal in a practice you might have, maybe even back when you were in the public defender's office?
Well, no,
Maybe.
it's all about research, right? It's all about coming up with arguments. It's all about winning your point in court, right? So if you have to be able to get from all sources and look at the history of what the courts have done before and make your arguments to a judge or a panel of judges, whomever, whatever that you're doing to convince them to allow you to do a certain thing or other. And one of the hardest things is back in the day, you had the books and then you had a cross reference, and then you had to get newer books that were updated. Now, I think in just a split second, you can do a lot of research and maybe write
Yeah.
motions and make arguments for you. I mean, again, it's I hear there's a lot of cheating going on in college. I don't know. I mean, I think a guy that has the or a woman that has the skill to use these tools is at a huge advantage. And in real life,
Mhm.
maybe if I have these tools, I'm going to use them rather than I'm going to do the research myself and risk missing something or taking an exorbitant amount of time to do something that these programs and this software can really help us get to the answer quicker and more accurately, I would imagine. But I mean,
Absolutely.
am I correct, Terry, with that? Or I mean, what do
Yeah,
you think?
absolutely. Matter of fact, speaking of that, I used Perplexity a few months ago. I am not a lawyer. In the MBA program, we had one class on business law. That does not qualify me to render any legal opinion. But what I had is a contract that came through. As a
Right.
professional speaker, always get conferences and places where I'm going to speak. They send me a legal contract. Well, I looked at it, seemed okay, but I took the PDF, fed it into Perplexity. Then I asked Perplexity to act as a lawyer who watches for labor law and contract law and is aware of the latest laws in my state of Florida. And I think this was a company up in New Jersey.
Right.
So in New Jersey, et cetera. And let me know, is this contract good and acceptable for me? Anything I should be aware of? It came back in literally about 20 seconds on this roughly 20-page document showing me details of what it was, most of which didn't really apply to me, but it was good. It said, oh, one area of concern here would be such and such. And I realized, okay, that's not for me. But the other one, then it said, finally, this looks like a standard agreement that would fit with most of what you're doing, Terry. It could work very well. And I thought,
If
okay,
you think about it, the political class, when they pass a law, they write their intent. A lot of judges and people are trying to determine what's the intent of that law. And
yes,
when you write it, you have to write it in a very specific way so that your intent is reflected in the law. Because what other guys do is start to look in it from the side, from on top, from the bottom, and trying to twist what that intent is. You can see
yes.
how this AI, Perplexity, and others can look at different things to help you write or put together a document or a phrase or find that little problem that could exist. It's just phenomenal. And I'm sure we're just at the beginning of this. I can't even imagine what's just down the road very
Terry,
shortly.
Terry, let me ask CG a question here.
Mm.
So, tell me if you do this, or if it would be beneficial, or it's just something that passed in my mind that is useless. You're, as anybody that watches the show knows, that you're a personal injury attorney, and you defend a lot of individuals, and you try and get the best result for them. Have you ever had a database that would allow you to, either by individual insurance companies, might even be better, when a certain set of circumstances, your success rate by whatever criteria you use versus other attorneys in the same geographic area, what their success rate is? Are you able to compare that now?
No, and it's almost impossible, Henry, because every case is individual and specific to that person. You know, you'll always hear, well, my cousin got this amount of money for that, or I have done a lot of criminal work too. You know, well, that lawyer got this not guilty, so he must be a great attorney. You can't really compare attorneys that way because each case they have, you know, you'll hear if you meet a lawyer that says, I've won everything, you have met a lawyer that's extremely selective. Because in a criminal case, I can tell you the odds of winning. In a civil case, after I have all the facts and information, I can tell you the value of the case. I can't do that before we have all the information. So it all depends of your client. It's very difficult. What you can say, how many years experience you have. You can look at the resources that individual has. You know, and for lawyers too, you think about it. Terry's talking about contracts. You want to go to a contract person that has those tools, that has searched those issues before. You don't want to go to an attorney that does criminal to do contract work, even though we're licensed to do
Yes,
everything. And everybody
absolutely.
says, well, I'm not a lawyer. Well, you know, I'll go to a lawyer for estate and gift tax, even though I did very good at that in law school. I will go to an attorney when I'm dealing with real estate. I'm not a real estate guy. You know, accident, injury, you kill somebody, I'm your man. You know, so, but no, you can't. But what is really interesting with all these tools is who has access to it, who's cutting edge, who makes that argument. So when you go to court, if you're a court attorney, I like to surround myself with people that know research and can find the answers to the questions we have. And that's where I think this technology is game
Well,
changing.
let me
Yeah.
jump before I let this go, because Terry, I know personally of an insurance adjuster that referred to CJ as a bulldog. So I want to bulldog this question with you.
That's a positive for a
Now,
lawyer.
That's a
two
compliment to a lawyer sometimes.
Yep.
lay people here. Do you think that with a little bit of thought that you could actually find that out? Like if I wanted to know for let's say running a red light, who was the most successful both by settlement and uh, a verdict or a judgment that favored the defendant, I mean, rather favored the plaintiff. Do you think you could come up with a query on that, like for Perplexity, that would
Yeah, I think you could.
scan? Yeah.
Sure, you'd
See,
use a prompt, and the prompt would be,
he's thinking all about being the best at what he is and being successful.
Well,
And I'm thinking about the shortcuts.
well, that brings up an interesting question. More that, yeah, it'll come with an answer, but how accurate is the answer? You know,
bingo.
it can't factor in so many things that determine if this was a successful defense or you did a great job as a plaintiff. You know, I like
Yes.
to say, I'm not a pastor, I'm not a priest, I don't do miracles. We're going to work the case based on the facts. You know, in a criminal case, somebody will confess to police and say, "Help me." I said, "How am I really going to help you? You have a big mouth. I mean, you already screwed yourself. I can maybe get you a better deal, but you know, you've already confessed. Let's just work on this." If it's a civil case, you know, there's so many factors, and I don't think unless I think if Perplexity, if AI has all the data and information of each individual, their history, the facts of the case, this, that, and the other, then it could render a decision if you're getting great result for you. But remember, Henry, uh, in civil cases and so forth, your client decides. Just like in criminal, I never make a decision for my client. My job is to educate, work it, find the facts, and help them make a decision to what they want to do. So I think it's difficult, but this tool is amazing in the field of law, but not for the reasons that you're saying. For right now, anyway.
Well, let's move on. I took enough time.
Yeah,
up
I'm
with
sorry about that. You can cut that out if you want, but I mean, it's interesting because from my perspective, how AI can help the legal field is huge. And I think
Yeah.
Terry was right on. I mean, I think attorneys sometimes are like priests. We're there to bless something. Terry is a bright man. He can use AI to put his contract in there and see the exact same thing that probably 99% of the lawyers would come up with, you know. And if you have intelligence and common sense and you have a basic knowledge, it can help you quite a bit, right? And it's maybe the same tool that the lawyer is going to use, different than if you're a trial lawyer that is arguing in court, a trial lawyer that's picking a jury that's about relating to the jurors or prospective jurors and the skills involved with that. That's where AI doesn't help law and won't help you. But when it comes to transactional things, absolutely, it's game changing.
Yeah,
And
CJ, I think
times,
that's well said. Yep.
okay.
The key is you
And,
want to make sure that you use the right tool for the right thing. Because I would say if I had a major contract, that one that I did was not that big a deal. But if it were major, big bucks involved, all that, you bet your boots I'd be taking it to a real bona fide lawyer
but
who
I like what
understands.
you do, Terry. I mean, there's so many people go to the lawyer because they just don't want to deal with it. They don't want the
Yeah.
stress of it. But just like when I have clients that go to a doctor, I said, if they're suggesting this, ask them about it. Do some research about
Yeah.
what this procedure is. Don't just accept. Because some people believe because they have a white coat, you're going to accept everything the doctor is going to say. Likewise with the lawyer. Double
Agreed.
check, ask questions. AI, this technology helps you prepare yourself for when you sit down with that attorney, when you sit down with your doctor to discuss your ailments, to discuss your legal issues, and it gives you a great background. Amazing.
Absolutely.
Terry, when Aravind Srinivas, easy for me to say, the CEO on the video that was just played a minute
Yeah.
ago,
Arvind Srinivas. Yeah.
talked about being able to take down Google, to replace them and Meta. Do you find when you work it that you believe that, or that you think it's a possibility?
Oh, I guess anything is a possibility. I don't think Google's going to collapse because Google is also doing their own with Gemini and then with Notebook LM, which is another fabulous tool. We might have to go into some other time, but just write that down. Notebook LM and what it can do for consolidating lots of arguments and ideas and then create a podcast with professional sounding people, a male and a
I
female
love
that
it.
sound just like that. It's amazing. But I think what we can do is we can use AI, but is it going to replace all lawyers? No, of course not. But is it for those of us who are lay people? Good, because I can bring in the information, look at all that, and I can then, instead of paying this much, CJ, you might not like this, so cover your ears. Instead of paying this much to the lawyer, because I've done research, I can bring it down to this.
Well, I'm a
So that
trial
I'm
lawyer,
saying,
so
here
I'm
you
not
go.
afraid. You need me when you go to court. I
Yeah,
don't
that's
like
right.
research. I use people to research. I do research, but my specialty isn't that. Some people get very violently ill when they go in front of a group to speak. Terry, I don't believe that's you. I think you'd be a great litigator because you enjoy that. But like all of us, we have different comfort zones and levels. And I would
Yeah.
think that people that have jobs that require interaction with people are the ones that are going to have job security in the future compared when AI blows up like it is starting to.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway, all right, Henry. Any other questions
Yeah,
we
well,
have?
I actually spoke to Terry off the air about this and the difference between my sister's granddaughter, who's 4 years old and is just learning about these devices with screens and interacting with them, versus the the kids that are still young. I mean, they're maybe just teenagers now or middle school that are, if for lack of a better word, the Google generation. How do
Mm.
you think the vision between that generation and this upcoming generation, the AI generation, how do you think that'll play out?
Well, I don't know for sure. My crystal ball batteries are kind of bad right now. And when I try to rub it, it doesn't always work. But obviously, it's going to have some profound effects, not only on the technology, but also on the human side, how they're going to do it. There's some real advantages. That 4-year-old girl is going to be able to get access to all kinds of information. She can learn to speak another language, literally talking back and forth to AI. We have that today. It is not science fiction. I'm
Wow.
using that and studying my Spanish right now in Russian. So I can talk to it and I say, count to me in Russian here. And it's talking, and I can say a phrase, say, did I say that correctly?
Wow.
Whoa, we couldn't do that before. And I'm saying my Spanish, the same thing. Or if I want to learn a real technical thing, I can have it drill me on that in a nice way, helping me in a psychologically sound, educationally cognitive learning way that will really help me. So I
But you
think
know
that
what, Terry?
4-year-old's got
Terry,
an
what's
advantage.
scary? What's scary? I have a couple kids in school, and they're not bringing books home anymore. And I learned with books. I
Yeah,
memorized by writing. They don't do that. And I have a child that is learning English, and what they basically do in the Orange County schools is to throw you into the deep part of the pool and say swim.
yeah,
And they're doing that with English, and I'm like shocked. And then they say, well, there's this program and this program. I thought, I don't learn very well. I'm not used to learning on the computer or with my iPad with a program. I learn by opening the book, reading, studying, going back to the book, writing it, that kind of thing. And now I'm faced with this technology that's completely different. Maybe it's just my age, but I wonder if there are people or children and others that learn better a different way than just with this screen. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just that I haven't had I don't spend the time that you do on AI and all this. I mean, what do you think about that? Do you think there's anything to say about that, or
oh yeah.
am I just worrying about nothing?
Oh, I think there is something to say about that. Behavioral psychologists and educators who know, and they study the cognitive development, how we learn, way smarter than me in this area. And we learn in different ways. One of the beauties of today's technology is that we can then take something on a smartphone like this, and it
Right,
can train me in a way that is right for me. Sometimes I can see it, sometimes I'm going to hear it, sometimes I'm going to write something down, I'm feeling it in a kinesthetic way. And we all learn in different ways. And also, one of the beauties of this right now, unlike the traditional school approach, in traditional school, they go along, everyone proceeds at the same time.
right,
By this date, you must have this, and by
right,
this, you must have or the final exam and do it. Sometimes we're not going to know that. But
right.
with AI, we can go over it a little bit more. Or why should I spend all my this time when I learn this topic like that? So if I
Right.
can do it now, customized, there's a key word, customized to me through the AI and do the reading. And
You're correct.
I'm doing a lot of reading, and I do it here on Kindle because
But
Kindle,
I still love to sit down with that old book
yeah,
and,
there's a place for
curl on
that.
the sofa and read
Sure,
instead of
I
that
like it
screen.
though
I
when
it's
I
just
say,
maybe at
"What is
my
that
age, I don't
word?
know.
I don't understand. What's the meaning of that word?" I can
Yes,
press and
you are
hold it,
right.
and it
Yeah,
tells me.
you're
If
right.
we don't know it, and there's a lot of words I don't know. And so
You're
when I
right.
see that, I go, "Hey, this is a good way to do it." Plus, what I do now, I highlight it in Kindle, highlight it, then I go back at the end and I can read just the highlights, the best of the best, according to me, in that book I just read. And now I've got something to review and to really retain it in my memory a whole lot longer. So paper books are good. I still have probably 300 billion of them. I think that's the exact number here in our condo. But I still love putting them here because also I can carry my library with me when I hop on a plane and go somewhere else. I got all that I need right here.
All right. The CEO also spoken about royalties, Terry, for owners of the intellectual property of the data used in large language models. Perplexity, for example, has come under fire for that data use. What are your thoughts on that issue? What do you think about that?
It's a serious issue, and there's both sides have some strong points right now. The legalities are not there. CJ, as you know far better than I do, the law is sometimes a little bit behind the technology. And we're just saying, okay, where are we going to go? Because here's the thing, we've got writers, creators who are writing content. They're using video, they're using audio, pictures, and other tools. They create something using their own ingenuity and their being. So they create this, and now someone else can come along and tap into it and grab it, and they're not getting any payment. I think we need to sit down together and say, what can we do? We want AI to continue. We don't want to stop it. We don't want to go back
Right.
to what it was 20 years ago. We want to make sure it's moving forward. And there's technologies that can help on that, where we can make agreements that, okay, when we have your article here, we've got that piece that you wrote, you will get attribution for it. That's beneficial, and or payments of some sort. And this is where blockchain comes in. And we can have the micro payments so that it's in there. And we know that CJ wrote this article. It's really comprehensive on this important topic. He deserves to be compensated. And we could use things like micropayments so that we could use micropayments so that, for instance, thousands of people might read it. What if you were able to get 20 cents from each person? Well, that's not bad for something like that, or 30 cents, or maybe a
Right.
penny, or maybe $2. We would let the individual people negotiate that. So now writers and creators are being compensated. And also, we're able to take this information and get it out so that people go to that site, Wall Street Journal, Business Week, Forbes, or whatever it might be, and they say, I want to go there and read so that I can get more information. And they get a chance to expose us to advertising
I,
that
I
is paying the bills.
I think we need to get AI in Congress because every time most of Congress, I mean, if I were sitting congressman, I would have to have so much. I have to study on this subject to understand, to even have a remote idea of what laws should be passed, what should be
Yes,
beneficial for our. I mean, it's so complex and involved, and I think our people running the show have no clue. And
I think you're right.
they're so behind. Like you say, technology is fast moving, and even how it's destroying, in my opinion, our democracy. It is influencing in algorithms, and if I want to hear this one side, that's all I get. That's to the detriment of me
Yeah,
learning other ideas. It's scary, and we don't have political class people that are on top of it.
yeah.
um
And
uh,
CJ,
uh,
by the way, one of the things I
y-
want to submit, and you know this better than I do, suppose they got a bill here and it's 5,000 pages long. That's not
yeah,
unusual.
they don't read
5,000
it.
pages. And they give it to you tonight, and
They
we're going
don't
to
read
vote
it.
on it tomorrow at 9. Oh,
They
come on.
vote based on
Get
what they're,
real.
I always say the most powerful guy is the speaker or the president of the Senate, and they're going to make sure you vote the way they tell you to. You don't have to read
Yeah.
anything.
But you know what we
That's
can
the
do?
problem with our system.
But you know what we can do is we can take that 5,000, 10,000 word thing, and I can take it as a PDF. I'm sure if I were a
Yeah.
congressman or senator, I say, give it to me in a PDF. I'm going to feed it into Perplexity. I'm going to say, now give me a summary of that in 50 paragraphs, showing the most important things and cite any potential concerns based on other documents that are out there similar to that. Oh, now I've got something where I can come back and go, I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, this is not acceptable. Oh, turn to page
I,
537.
I agree with you 100%, but I hate to say that now they're going to be put on notice of how bad that bill is or what problem there is. They'd rather
But
be
that's a good thing.
ignorant. This AI is going to give them no excuses, is it? Because hey,
Exactly,
I didn't
and
have
I think
time
that's
to
a
read
real
it.
good thing.
Yeah, well, anyway, at the enterprise level, the CEO talks about bringing internal and external knowledge. How do you understand that issue? Because, the internal stuff and the external information.
Yeah, that's one of the best things that I showed you on the screen there, Spaces. That's the
Right.
thing that's been released just a couple days ago. It's out now. And what it does, it gives you the ability to take, say, 5, 10, 20, up to 50 documents of your own, those writings that you have and opinions, and put them in there. And you can also reach over and say, and here's a YouTube video that addressed that. Here's the URL. Oh, and another YouTube video that was here. Oh, and here's another PDF that my friend CJ wrote that is just brilliant on this. Feed it in there. Then I can collaborate with others, put all of that information together and say, give me a summary. What was the general consensus about topic X or topic Y? And it
Is
starts giving us
Perplexity the only one doing that right now or that you're
there
aware
are
of?
others that do it. We see Notebook LM from Google has some capability for that, and within Chat GPT, they're doing that with some of their more advanced levels that they have, where they have not only version 4.0, but also now preview and O1 preview. These are good. I know it sounds like a lot of stuff. Just say the bottom line to remember: yes, we're taking a lot of information, putting it in there, and then mixing it up so you can get what you want. And really good thing about Perplexity, you can collaborate with, I think, up to 10 people. Think
So, but
about
even
that.
if it's not mine, I can download or put into that pot of information whatever I want.
Yeah, here's a link from YouTube. Here's that PDF that's really good, providing that you have access to it legally.
Henry.
Terry, as I understand it, one of the advantages of Perplexity over the other companies, whether it be Google or any of the big maker companies, is that the big companies are building these large language models to cover vast areas of knowledge and data, where Perplexity seems to be targeting individual industries, the vertical integration into them. So they're able to sort of cherry pick where the profits are, where the money is. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, they're doing it and giving us individual the power to take my information. Say I might have written 2 or 3, 4 books, and I put those in there, and then I can say, what does Terry have to say about this topic? This topic, and it will look at what I've said over a range of different information.
Let me
And
ask you,
we're
Terry,
with
though.
others.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm curious. In this political debate going on with people, and I was with my cousins in California. They said, "Oh, that is totally false. What you're saying politically,
Mhm.
you're just totally off base." And I said, "No, it's a fact," and they don't want to hear it. I mean, if we're using AI technology and you have Perplexity, are they going to just spew what we want them to say, or are they going to say, hey, like fact check something? I mean, it's just based on an information that they have access to, is it not?
Yeah, but it's fact checking, and with Perplexity, the nice thing about it, it cites the reference. So when it says here's something that is the fact, you can say, oh, that was published in the New York Times on this day, et cetera. Okay. Now maybe the New York Times was wrong on that issue. I don't know, but
Right.
at least I know the reference now. And another thing, I was showing you the various forms there on Perplexity. One of them is called social media. And so with that, what you can do, go into places like Reddit or X, formerly Twitter, or Facebook, all of those together and find out what are people really saying. For instance, I can say, here's a hot issue. What do people on this side say about it? How about people on this side? Now you can go to your friends, your family out there in California, and you can tell them,
Right.
wait a minute, I know you mean this, this, and this. Is that right? Well, yeah. How did you know that? Well, I've been reading what people on that side of the argument have said. However, you might want to consider this, this, and this as well.
Okay, awesome. All right. Well, Terry, we're running out of time as always. We could spend hours listening to you and your
Oh,
knowledge
yeah.
on AI. We can learn more for yourselves if you'd like by going to terrybrock.com or his YouTube channel at Terry Brock CPAE, Stark Raving Entrepreneurs. I love anything with an entrepreneur. I always just believe that that's what made this country, being entrepreneurial,
Yes.
not, taking calculated risk, getting out there and owning your own life. A very important thing. Anyway, Terry is
Absolutely.
awesome. Henry, do you want to say anything to Terry as we say sayonara and move
No,
on?
just thank you again, Terry. I appreciate all the patience as we work through some things, and we'll hopefully have you back here again before the end of the year, I hope.
A
Thank
visionary,
you.
a great guy, Terry Brock. Thank you, sir.
Great to be with both of you. Muchas gracias, as we'd say here in Florida.
De
Thank you.
nada. Ciao.
The CJ Knows Show,